As much as I like good old PC games, unfortunately, time is never enough to go back to them as often as I would like. Time just passes by, day after day, in this routine we call freedom. Nonetheless, there's a few games that I find myself coming back to from time to time, stuff like Doom, Theme Hospital, StarCraft and Dungeon Keeper, among others, and of course, SimCity 2000, the best game ever made. As you can see by this list, I'm not the one to go back to racing games. I do have fond memories of Grand Prix games, Sega arcade racers, Pod, Roll Cage and Motor Racer, but they do stay in the past. That is, with one exception, Revolt. Developed by Acclaim Studios London and published by Acclaim Entertainment in August of 1999 for Windows PCs, Revolt is a classic racing game where players control remote-controlled cars and compete in races across a variety of tracks. Looking at the box, we have an RC car blasting near what seems to be a sidewalk, while the Acclaim logo stands proud at the corner. Taking a look at the back, and yes, this is the Portuguese version of the box, it tells you that it is the maximum on remote-controlled racing, while praising its realistic physics, awesome weapons, tracks and graphics, with some, I must say, very poor screenshots on the side. Inside the sleeve we have a white box, and inside the white box we have a warranty registration card, the mandatory paper instruction booklet with substantial info on how to play the game, and finally we have the game in a circular shape and another small jewel case manual, because too much manuals is not a thing when it comes to manuals to manually read. And firing up the game, we're greeted with the Revolt logo, the Acclaim logo, followed by the Acclaim London logo, and after the logo trifecta, we're in the language selection screen where you can choose to speak English, parle français, Deutsch sprechen, parlare italiano or hablar español. After choosing the language, we're at the main menu, no intro or presentation whatsoever, because that's for children, and this is a true man's game. About using RC cars, that is. While at the main menu, the synapses start firing inside, moving brain juices to nostalgia with the awesome music. Ah yes, the amount of times I've listened to this one, and it's still great today. It's one of those tunes that stays in your head, but in a good way. The main menu has all your typical main options like start a race, best trial times, progress table, options where options are optionally available, track editor, and quit for quitting, all pretty much self-explanatory. Diving into start race, we have a set of different types to choose from. Single race allows to race against computer opponents for first place. Championship, racing in a cup which consists of 4 races for points. The higher the rank, the more points earned. Multiplayer allows you to race against other human opponents for first place. Time trial, this game mode lets the player compete for the fastest lap time in any race that is unlocked. Practice allows to explore tracks with no time limit or other racers. In addition, each track features a star to collect. And Stunt Arena, a small arena featuring 20 stars to collect. The arena features loop ramps as well as a half-pipe with stars that can only be obtained with higher performing cars. Collecting all 20 stars unlocks a new game mode. The game's premise is very simple. Players control remote-controlled cars and race them across a variety of tracks, which include a toy store, a museum, and a supermarket, among others. The game features a wide selection of cars to choose from, each with its own unique handling characteristics and attributes. Additionally, the game allows players to create custom tracks using a level editor, which added to the game's replayability. Off I went to start a new single race to give it a shot. I had to insert my name, going back and forth using the letters on the tire, until I found out you can just type your name and it just works. Game was making fun of me already. But never mind that, let me pick a car that I like. The Fat Slug, sure, it must be the underdog. Time to pick a track, so let's go with the first, and first thing that pops right up are the graphics. Beautiful real-size world with cars just waiting at the middle of the road. While I'm appreciating the graphics, the race starts and what the crap? Why am I banging against everything? And I mean, everything. This game sucks. I can't even control my car, it must be broken. Even though the game tells you it's an RC car racer over and over, I keep trying to play it like a regular racing game, you know, handbrake, fast movements, full speed, and my car just keeps turning like crazy. And that tunnel on the first track, that stupid tunnel, that ruins each and every lap that I think I'm doing great. And then, epiphany. Wait a minute, isn't this an RC racing game? It is. Eureka! A new world was then opened. The world of RC racing, delicate steering adjustments, pedal-like acceleration, light speed reactions, and the game was on. One of the things that made Revolt stand out was its impressive graphics, which were among the best of its time. The game's environments were highly detailed, and the cars were modeled with a high degree of accuracy. The game's sound design was also noteworthy, with each car having its own distinct engine sound, and the game's soundtrack featuring a mix of techno and rock music. Track after track, car after car, the game was now a really good game. Not that it became easy, far from it, but it became understandable. Each track has a different approach, from the soil, type of corners, shortcuts. Yes, at a certain point I started to see opponents taking different routes and even going in a supposed wrong direction. The proper car for the right track was a thing, from responsiveness, front or back wheel traction, or even four-wheel drive. Even the size and weight of the car were important. After choosing the correct combination, it wasn't all racing though. Like aforementioned, the tracks aren't linear. There are jumps, stunts, different paths and shortcuts to choose from. In fact, some later tracks feel at first more like a maze rather than a racing track. Something that for me makes complete sense, since the races are taking place in the world with miniaturized vehicles. From a typical neighborhood, a toy store, a supermarket, a museum, and to the freaking Titanic, every track just looked awesome and full of detail. While on topic of detail, the cars are just awesome too, and there's quite a bunch to choose from. Seeing cars' reflection on the polished floors was really something back then. Permanent skid marks, oil puddles, objects moving around creating obstacles, everything was just great. But again, racing wasn't just racing. Now we come to the arsenal at your disposal. While racing, there are these lightning bolt icons to pick, and they randomly give the players something to use. Stuff that ranges from a simple bowling ball to turbo to increase speed momentarily, stuff to fire like fireworks and water balloons, an electric ray kind of thing, or even a mighty star which works like a electromagnetic pulse, disabling all the other cars, and of course a bomb, which effectively turns your car into a bomb, and you have to touch an opponent to pass it before the fuse runs out. Ah yes, pass the bomb. Revolt was praised by critics for its fun and addictive gameplay, which combined elements of arcade and simulation racing. The game's controls were responsive and intuitive, and the AI opponents provided a good challenge for players of all skill levels. All of that made for a great and fun game to enjoy for hours and hours, but what made the Revolt shine for decades was its modding easiness. Revolt is very modding friendly. Getting your ideas in the game is quite easy. There are thousands of custom creations to choose from to make the game your own. The customization community is still very active even today. The first major breakthrough, known as Revolt 1.2, happened by the hands of Uki and Jigbran, who collaborated to create an update binary of the game from source. After about 6 months of hard work, an alpha was released. The first public beta became available on November 13th of 2010. It has since been surpassed by RVGL, a continuation of Revolt 1.2, featuring a complete cross-platform rewrite of Revolt, which runs natively on both Windows and Linux. This means that if you want to purchase Revolt, you can do it on Steam for around $6, or you can go to revoltrace.net or revolt.io and grab a completely playable version of the game, which runs perfectly well on every modern PC and operating system. Overall, Revolt is a classic racing game that is still fondly remembered by many gamers today. Its fun gameplay, impressive graphics, and ability to create custom tracks made it a standout game of its time, and its cult following continues to this day. While Revolt was released more than 2 decades ago, it still has a dedicated fanbase and is considered a cult classic among racing game enthusiasts. If you're a fan of racing games and haven't played Revolt yet, it's definitely worth checking out. And you know what else is worth checking out? The other videos I have here in this channel, which you are watching at the moment. I have more retrospectives, reviews, new and old hardware, among other weird stuff. If you enjoy this video, leave it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel because your support is always very much appreciated. As always, thank you very much for watching this, and until my next video, please do take care.